What's going on, everybody? I'm Andrew.
And I'm Daniel.
This is Everyday Nerds.
And right now, COVID lockdown, we're just two nerds locked in a basement. If you've seen our past videos before, we're kind of at a new studio. It'll look nicer next time. But
Maybe.
Biggest news of the end of 2020, what was it?
COVID vaccine.
COVID vaccine, yes, that is some big news.
But that's not that big compared to this.
Nah, it's Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk came out.
It's the biggest news of all time. Whether you hated the game relentlessly or you loved the game to death.
Mm-hmm.
There's two perspectives, and everybody seems to have an opinion on this game, and why not give our opinion? How long have you been excited for Cyberpunk, Andrew? As long as I have, because I've been
84 years.
It's been 84 years.
It's been 84 years.
And I remember it like it was yesterday.
Was you a young lad back then?
Yeah, very.
Very young.
But, I mean, we got announced. They made The Witcher 3, and I think it got announced around the same time, kind of.
It got announced in 2012, and they probably just had two people working on it because that's what the game feels like. We know about the problems with this game, the performance issues. A lot of people seem to be upset that Johnny Silverhand was played by Keanu Reeves. They said that this game was going to be one thing, and then they put him in, and then it just completely turned it around, and they don't like his acting performance. They don't like the way that the story, they say, has changed. We've had developers, unnamed developers, now come out and say that they really wish Johnny Silverhand would not have been played by Keanu Reeves, which sucks because I found his performance in the game standard Keanu Reeves. I mean, he wasn't the greatest actor for voice acting, but he wasn't horrible, and he had a good look. I mean, the graphics of this game are, well, what they are. We were hoping for, I think, a lot better, especially when we watch some of the early test footage.
Yeah.
That's just not what this game was, and it's upset a lot of people, understandably.
Yeah. I mean, it's just been a train wreck, but beautifully. You ever watched the old Lone Ranger Disney movie, like 2012?
Is that old? I mean, that's only a couple of years back, man.
Feels like it's a long time ago.
I thought you was talking about black and white days.
No, but at the end, they're blowing up the train bridge, and the train's like flying off the rails, but it looks beautiful.
Oh, yeah. That's
kind of like that.
That's definitely this game. I've been excited about this game for 2 years. Really, since the E3 trailer launch is when I really got into this. Because it looked so flippin' cool.
Yeah. And
then, it was delayed a bunch of times. And then we got the game, finally. And it was a fun game to play. You can tell that there's a lot of systems missing.
Yes.
A lot of glitches. I don't even want to get into the glitches because we know there's glitches in this game. We're not going to sit here and point out the fact that there's glitches in this game.
Look at what the case says, or the color.
Yeah, it's a glitchy game. And I would like to point out, though, Fallout 4 was glitchy.
Yep.
Skyrim was almost unplayable on the PlayStation 3. So, yes, I do see everybody's frustration on the glitches. But it's not unplayable.
Yeah, it's not. I mean,
everybody that makes a YouTube video says this game's unplayable. You are lying to yourself if you say it's unplayable. You make the comment, except for a high-end PC game. Well, I play a standard 5-year-old PlayStation 4 because I haven't upgraded to a PS5 yet, unlike some people here. And anyways, I've played the game. I've had system crashes. Some of the biggest problems I've had are like when you're driving. Let's not even talk about the driving yet. We're going to get to the driving. But just driving down, you can see buildings pop in, and they're fuzzy, and you'll pass them, and they'll still be fuzzy because the game's not rendering well, and that's very annoying. It really takes you out of it. But, I've had glitches. I've seen NPCs repeat themselves, so there are definitely pretty bad problems with this game. But you've played it on PlayStation 5. And
yes.
Is it less glitchy on PlayStation 5? Is it better? How's it render?
So the main thing I noticed. On PS4, I kind of just stopped playing. It was playable, but I juggle through a lot of games. I don't play one thing through and then move on. I sit there and I'll play 4 games at once and just kind of juggle what I'm playing. And with Cyberpunk, my main problem, I had to launch PS4, and I kept getting old. And I kept getting crashes and then really bad glitches. I didn't have any rendering problems, but like the videos that you probably haven't had in your game where a car falls out of the sky, that happened once. And it's nothing that makes the game unplayable. It's just annoying. And
some of them are funny, though.
Yeah, the car falling out of nowhere was pretty funny. It just kind of threw me off guard because, like, when you play these kind of games, you want to like feel like you're in the game, kind of be like immersed, kind of, and that just really kind of pulls you out. But it wasn't unplayable, and then so I just kind of waited because I crashed very often until I got my PS5, and the game is, I mean, it's not totally different, but it's totally different, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, one thing, I was watching you play a couple of missions, and the one thing that I noticed that I really liked was the rendering was much better.
Yes.
The buildings were full of detail on a PlayStation 5. It's upsetting that this game was made for PlayStation 4, but looks like even when they come up with the updates early next year, or early this year, that's probably still not going to be completely optimized for the gaming console they were designed for. That's chalked up to a lot of reasons. We've heard a lot of rumors. You know, one of the biggest rumors that we've heard right now is, well, they cut content. You know, I've heard the developer came out today and was talking about, they're talking about how they had this whole underground section of the game that was just so glitchy that they had to cut it. They're talking about story arcs with the mayor and Rivers and some of those other things that you know what I'm talking about. You know how those story arcs, they kind of just, they build to something that you think is going to be so exciting and then they just flatline and it kind of sucks. They talked about there was more to that got cut because of glitches. Like, and if that's true, that's just upsetting. They talked about a taxi system that would give taxi drivers would give you missions. I mean, now I don't know if any of that is true. That's just what an anonymous developer said, but that seems to be all over YouTube today, so I figured I'd talk about it. And they also said that Johnny Silverhand, being played by Keanu Reeves, kind of really made them reset a lot of things, and I don't know how true that is or how, you know, it seems like there's a lot of stuff not in the game, man. Andrew, that's one big problem everybody's having, but a lot of the problems are the RPG elements that's in the game already that aren't working.
Yeah. Because, like, it doesn't really matter what you pick. Some things do, like, your class at the beginning matter somewhat, because it's like your starting point, and it's kind of how your relationships can go for some things. But in the end, do your choices really matter?
No, and, you know, I've seen some people, YouTubers, talk about this. It feels gimmicky. You know, look, I think Nomad's probably the longest storyline. You know, Corporate's kind of long. But none of them are as long as we wanted. And I think one of the biggest problems is we all thought they were going to be like, hey, for the first hour and a half of this game or so, we're going to be playing in our little story modes. You know, hey, I'm a corporate person. And I think a lot of people heard what the developers said, and they really, really ran with it. And they just imagined this thing. And I think one of the problems this game had is YouTubers. They hyped this game. I'm not talking about the developers, also hyped it up. But YouTubers went with what the developers said and said, well, they're saying this, so these could also be the possibilities. And there's a lot of speculation. This game was way too hyped. Anytime you have something this hyped, there's going to be people just let down. The game was designed, I think it had some good elements in some of the gameplay trailers we watched 2 years ago that ended up not even being in the game. Like, one is the eyes. Like, when you get a phone call, the eyes light up. Like, you can pick the color. They talked about that. The character customization in the game when they did the walkthrough 2 years ago was more in depth than what we got. And it's like, you know, I mean, you get to pick your penis size and your boob size. And, you know, that's what they kind of touted. And, like, it's like, okay, that's great, guys. You know, yay. Thumbs up for putting a penis in a game. Hadn't seen that before, but, you know, it's just, a lot of features, especially third person, needed to be in this game.
Third person,
and they cut out all these cutscenes that they had planned to be in third person, and it's just, I feel like this was probably, and we'll find out in the coming months, developmental hell. It was probably not a good system. But do we have any good news?
I mean, I don't know if we have good news, but we have good things we can talk about.
Oh, I'd like to talk about the good things.
First off, I know everybody says it. You'll say, they'll be trashing the game, you'll say, but the story's good, and they'll be like, yeah, but that's it. But I mean, first off, the story is fairly good. I mean, we wanted more out of it. I think they could have put more in it, but what we got was alright. It was a good story. It's fun to follow. Then the combat, I thought it was pretty good.
Well, the combat's weird because
it's different, but
if you level your stuff up and you get good with the combat and you get the right weapons and everything, combat is really good. Some people have called it wonky. I don't think it's wonky. I think if anything, it's a little bit bullet spongy, but it's not horrible unless you play on the harder difficulties. I've played it a little bit on the harder difficulty, and it is, it's definitely a difference. And, I recommend playing it on normal the first time through, like any game. Always play on normal, beat it, and then go for the more challenging stuff. One of the things, that we talk about is quality of life updates that aren't in the game, like something that a lot of RPGs are incorporating is you'll be looking for best armor stats, so you'll be wearing something that looks totally ridiculous, so you can get the good armor. And a lot of games incorporate where you can still wear that armor, but the clothes you're wearing look like this. Yeah. This game didn't have it. This game, the crafting system in this game, I've crafted with it. I ended up about an hour after I started working on crafting, I just quit it because it wasn't the best crafting system, and I think they could work on it. But, it's there if you're that kind of a gamer. I'm not a big crafting person when I play games, but I know a lot of people are. So it does suck that the crafting in this game is kind of basic.
Yeah.
The clothing options I like, for the most part. The one complaint I do have is a lot of female clothes when you're playing a male V.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why that is, but, like, I tend to get more stuff that's geared towards a woman when I'm playing as a male. And, so you have to go buy clothes or something. I don't know. It's not, maybe they could have tweaked that a little bit to where based on your gender is the kind of clothes you get.
Yeah. Drops are just weird.
Drops are weird, but it's a looter shooter kind of deal, and I like looting. I loot like crazy after I kill people and everything. There's plenty to loot in this game. A lot of people's complaints is there's plenty to loot without substance. Do you see that?
Kind of.
Like,
I'll get in fights and I'll need a gun or bullets or something, and that's exactly when I can't find it and all I get is clothes. So that's kind of annoying, but then you'll be getting further in the story and you're getting guns that are like good 2 missions ago, but now they're just kind of worthless. So I think they need to kind of, like, a good example of how they should have done it is Destiny. As you went on, you'd get stronger weapons and it'd never really go back. So I think as you go on, you should be getting stronger weapons because they're making everybody harder, but they don't. And that's a problem I've had with it.
Well, also, I think one of the biggest things is they don't want you to, because there's not a lot of main story, is there? We talk about how good it is, but 20 hours? 25? I mean, and we talked about they cut story plots and stuff like that, and they cut a lot of missions, it seems like, but it just, this game, if you just do the main story mode and you're doing it at normal, you're going to run into harder. You're not going to be leveled up enough. You've got to do the side missions, and the side missions are fun.
Yeah.
A lot of people complain on this game for stupid reasons. Like, there's just one complaint, and I will not forgive any. If you're complaining about what I'm about to say, you don't need to be reviewing this game, and it's the cyber psychos, okay? Somebody's complaining because there's a way to quick hack them and disable them from the beginning so you don't have to battle them.
Yeah.
Well, if that's your playstyle, that's your playstyle. Like, if you're a hacker, that's how you would take that.
Yeah.
You're not going to throw bullets at everybody or the darts. They got these sleeping darts, stun darts, and it's like you could hit them with that too. That might be a glitch, to knock out a cyber psycho with one dart that people are talking about. But when I fight a cyber psycho, I just go guns blazing with them and have fun. But some people are upset that with certain builds that you could create, they would be too easy. I don't know. I think that's just nitpicking. This game's got a lot of problems. Let's not nitpick on the silly ones. One smaller nitpick that a lot of people have it's about the story being... It's not an RPG game. Let's just face it. I can't lie to you and say, oh, this is a perfect RPG game. I think it's RPG-like. And, a lot of people have complained, well, because of Johnny Silverhand being in your head, that it keeps you from being able to go and explore the way you want to.
Yeah.
I think that's somewhat of a complaint that's legitimate. But at the same time, when you found out that he was good, because we've known, they've been very... almost to a point that hurt them. They have just told us all this information about the story. We knew the story. Before this game ever happened, we knew the story. We knew that he was going to do this job. It was going to go bad. Jackie was going to die. He's going to get stuck with Silverhead and in your head. And, you knew your job was to get him out. You knew that was going to be the story of this game a year before you bought the game. So if you're complaining that that's in the game, and that's kind of like, why'd you buy the game? You knew the story. So I guess we should have been calling BS on this a year ago, but it's a narrative. It is more of a narrative. And a lot of people compare this to GTA and say GTA is a much better game. How do you feel about that?
I think they're very different because this is not an RPG game. It's more of an open world. And GTA is its own thing. I can get where people can compare, but at the same time, it's two very different things. And I think this game was trying to be a lot more ambitious. And it didn't land it, but it's early. And with games nowadays, when a game comes out, chances are they're going to patch, they're going to fix, and they're going to update with new content. GTA's been out for God knows how long, 84 years again. PS3.
Well, and they've updated a lot of things that weren't originally there.
The updates to this, and that's not really a fair thing. And some people who are complaining are saying this game's been announced since that game released.
But they were working on Witcher 3 when this game was announced. They probably had a team of 5 people working on this game for the longest time.
That was probably just writing the story.
Writing dialogue, creating the world. There's a lot in this game, and there's a lot of lore in this game, and you can find it. And it's not hard to find.
I'm just going to cut you off for a second.
Oh, he's
so
cutting
in
me
your
off.
game, you get this nice little sleeve that goes over. You got all these goodies in there. But if you really want to get into the lore, the first thing I did when I got it was I noticed there's a little book. And when you read the book, it tells you all about a lot of stuff. Did you read it?
I read parts of it. I skimmed. I read about the gangs and stuff.
The first thing in it's the past. And then it kind of gets you to the present and stuff. And it tells you all the stuff. So it's a game that, if it wasn't so glitchy, I think this is one of the games that you could really, get into more than anything. I know I'm going to sound like IGN, but,
Well, you're starting to sound like what they call a Cyberpunk fanboy. You can't be a Cyberpunk fanboy.
Wait till I give my final rating. They'll disagree.
This game's got a lot of elements that were cut. It's glitchy. It looks like that they have lost a ton of stock. There's lawsuits. They're in all kinds of trouble. PlayStation took it off the store. I'd like to point out, though, that CD Projekt Red said, hey, get refunds, go to Sony, go to Xbox, get the refunds, and they said that early on. And then Sony was like, whoa, you didn't talk to us about that. So Sony said, okay, we'll give out the refunds, but if we're going to give out refunds, we're going to pull the game. Sony was never going to originally pull this game. I don't care what anybody says, they were not pulling this game before CD Projekt Red started telling people to ask for refunds. And I don't blame Sony for pulling it. Why would you sell a game that people are asking for refunds for?
Yeah.
So, it's game, a lot of people say this game was so bad, even Sony's pulling it. Sony was perfectly happy to sell it. In fact, it passed their testing to sell. So, is it really that unplayable?
Yeah. But the thing is, they probably played it on PS5.
They probably played it on PS5. But we knew there was going to be problems with this game just by the delays. We knew there was going to be problems because the people that were testing this game, they were all like, all on PC. They all said good things about it, and then they said they're glitchy, and then they always said, but we think they'll fix the glitches with this update. Well, the day one update, I don't know what it fixed, because you couldn't play the game without that day one update, so God knows what this game looked like before that.
That was a big update.
It's big, like 46 gigabytes.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had 3 updates since then. That's what I'm, when you want to talk crap about this game, just look, they've updated it 3 times since it's released. They fixed things, a lot more to fix. They're talking about DLC in 2021. We're talking about getting the PlayStation 5 and the new Xbox versions out this year. 2 massive updates that'll fix optimization. I mean, there's a lot that they need to fix. And there's a lot of systems that maybe need to be implemented into this game with the DLC and stuff. AI, for one, is just, I got behind a guy that was shooting at me 2 seconds before. I run around him and get behind him, and he's just crouched down. He doesn't even see that I've gotten behind him, and I just start blasting him, and he does nothing. I mean, so there's stuff like that that's kind of annoying, and it does break it, but they can fix the AI, I think. I don't know much about game design, but I feel like the AI can be fixed. The driving, Andrew, what do you think about the driving?
It's a nightmare. You'll be going... I have a few problems. First is you'll be going to your waypoint or something, and based on how you're driving, it looks like you're going the right direction, and you'll fly straight past your turn because there's nothing really helping you besides the mini-map. So if you're not watching the mini-map, you are going straight past.
And that mini-map is so, small that, it's like a small area of actual street. So it's not like if they would just bring it out more so you could see more map, you'd be able to make those turns instead of right when you pass, and that is annoying.
You always have to throw it in reverse. But throwing it in reverse and braking to get to that point is the worst part of driving. Every time you brake, if you're not in a car that handles perfect, I had one once that I could actually drive and brake without slamming into things. When you brake, it always feels like you go left or you go right and you hit something.
Oh yeah, you brake and you're sliding. And I like the motorbikes because I just like motorcycles, and you can see your character actually. And braking on a motorcycle is the most horrendous thing. It's like, I take it that they've probably never had a driving game.
Yeah.
But this is one of the worst driving experiences I've ever had. I mean, the driving is really, really, really bad. I hope they fix that. That needs to be something that needs to be fixed. It's horrendous.
I think they will. I hope.
Yeah, we hope. I still have faith in this company to turn it around. We've played No Man's Sky. They turned it around. They could turn this around in a year.
Just a reminder, their last game was The Witcher 3, and that was a good game.
Well, and it had its problems at launch too.
Yep.
Granted, not like this.
Yeah.
I think this game, people need to just lay off of it so much. Quit hating on it.
Yeah, I mean...
if you bought it and you don't like it, get your $60. Go get your $60 back. But I think you'd be missing out on a lot of great time because they will fix this game.
I think you're going to end up buying it again. It might be cheaper, but still.
Yeah, I think this game will fix itself. It might take all of 2021, to be honest. I mean, we're talking about DLC, we'll have, one thing that's a quality of life is a haircut.
Yeah.
Being able to go to the salon, change your hairstyle. Another thing that would really help people out a lot is maybe better hairstyles. The customization, as far as when you customize your character, it feels good for some things, and then it's hair. I didn't like any of the hairstyles. For a guy, there aren't that many great hairstyles.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing I noticed. And when you make your character, it'll look they'll look similar, don't get me wrong. When you make it on the customization screen, and then when you see it the 1 or 2 times you actually get to see it in game, it looks somewhat different. And that makes me kind of sad.
Well,
because it was more, my hairstyle was more of a brown when I picked it, but in the game it's more of a red.
Yes, I had that. I've been on 2 plays, and the first run was as a girl, believe it or not, because I wanted to romance Judy. Well, actually, it was as a guy. I quit because I wanted to romance Judy. So I beat the game the first time through as a woman, so I could romance Judy. And I had brown hair that turned red. And also, when I look in the mirror, as I'm playing the game again as a guy, and I've got facial hair, when I'm looking at any mirror, it doesn't look good in the mirror. So, character customization on this game was, it left a lot to be desired for, as we was talking about. With the beard, you customize your character, then you look into the mirrors, and the beard looks off. It doesn't look right.
Yeah.
Hair colors don't match sometimes. Especially like when you go third person on a bike, your hair style doesn't look like it should look like it did when you picked it. I think there's a lot to be worked on there, and I think that they will, because it's a complaint people are having. They released an unfinished game.
Yeah.
And it's clear. And if you're upset about that, I understand. There's no way around that kind of stuff. Like, I know they're going to fix it. Or at least I believe that they will fix these problems. But the fact is, they still released the game. And that's where a lot of anger comes from. The fact that they released a game that was so glitchy and unfinished, that had stuff cut from it, that had options that were talked about that didn't even get into the game.
Yeah.
A lot of people are mad about these things, and they're legitimate gripes. There's AI all over the place. It's not good AI. They talk about the map too. The map. I've heard a lot of comparisons to Ubisoft being a big map that just feels empty, and they say the city doesn't feel alive. I think the city does feel alive at times, especially at night. The lights, and you're walking. Like if you walk from place to place instead of drive, you really do feel the city more and more. But at the same time, the NPCs are they're pretty bad. It's almost a meme on this. It's going to be a meme. Just thank God nobody took an arrow in the knee.
Yeah.
But it's almost to that level, because the NPCs are pretty bad.
Yeah.
But again, we've got games with NPCs so bad like this, yet it's one of the best games of all time, and that's Skyrim. I'd like to bring up that we've had other amazing games that people love to death come out with bad problems. Now, this takes the cake. The glitches in this game take the cake. I don't want to, sell that short.
Yeah. And one problem I had with the AIs, might just be me nitpicking, but it gives you that eye so you can scan stuff.
Right.
And he tells you can see people's bounty and stuff. So I think when you're walking around and all these people are walking with you, because I always take my time to scan them out first. I don't do it anymore. To see if anybody had bounty so I could just make easy money. But no one ever walking around has a bounty. It's always gang members in a group.
Yeah, that's usually when you're about to go kill people.
Yeah, that's who has the bounties. So I was disappointed in that.
And there is no, and I get it, there is no combat with an NPC that's not already in a gang.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So, and I think that does upset a lot of people. There's a million things about this game that just upset people to death.
Yeah.
But we can't go over them all. You're either going to play this game and like it, or you're just going to play it and not like it. And if you don't like it, I don't think fixing a few things will even fix the game for you. I think if you just don't like this game, you're not going to like it. I think they'll fix a lot of the problems. But if your problem is the story, they're not going to fix that. They might add more missions, flush more stuff out, which is something that would be nice.
I doubt they'll do that. I bet they'll just do DLC and stuff after.
And I guess one big thing is the ending of the game. When they talk about the RPG, you feel like, especially on your first run through of the game, that your decisions do matter.
Yeah.
And then you realize, well, they don't matter as much as you want. There's 6 endings you could get. And basically all you have to do is your side missions to get all these endings. Like if you do all your side missions, you have 6 options that you get to choose for your ending. And then on top of that, you have another moment in the game that really lets you decide your ending. So, I think that hurt a lot of people too. Choice really wasn't in there. And, I have not played an RPG that had choice like that.
I think there's only one decision that's actually mattered in this game that I've noticed.
Put it in PlayStation and play it?
No. So, spoiler alert, even though we've already brought it up. When Jackie dies, you can, send him back to his family, keep him there, or whatever. And one of them, if you didn't do, I watched a video on it. If you did like the certain option, you wouldn't be able to go to his funeral, so you probably wouldn't be able to unlock his bike and all that stuff. So that gave you like a side mission where you could get a decent reward.
Right.
So I think that's the only like impact some of these decisions have is you might get an extra side mission, but I don't think it's ever going to be anything meaningful besides you doing it.
You know, that's true. There's a few side missions that do feel weighty, but they're not. And it's, you know, I've heard some people call it a gimmick. You know, you're either going to, like I said, you're either going to like this game and the way it is, or you're not. And fixing the glitches and fixing the driving mechanics won't fix that for you. I'm hoping they'll fix the AI, but it could be too hard to fix the AI once the, you know, at this point. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I'd like to see them fix the AI. I think this game's a good game. I think it's got a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Deep down, it's a good game. And, you know, I'm not a fanboy. I would like to be a fanboy. The game, I'd really like to be a big time fanboy. But this game's got a lot of problems.
I think it's a game that would be perfect to be a like fanboy for if it was what it's supposed to be. But it's not, and that's why it's just...
Everybody's... And I'm just saying, I do not like it when I watch a YouTube review on the game and the first words out of their mouth are, it's unplayable. That's the thing that gets on my nerves the most. I'd like to point that out. I've said it a few times.
Yeah. And like another thing with that too, though, is like they say this is unplayable, but I just want to remind you that Madden 21 came out last year, I guess now. And when that game came out, you couldn't even really play by yourself. The only thing that was really working like the way it was supposed to was the online play where you have to dish out money to get good players. That's all that was working. So why do we have a problem with a game that it works, it's fun even though it's not perfect, it's going to get fixed? Why do we have a problem with that, but not a game that comes out every year and people pay $60 every year? When this is their first game in 5 years?
5 years.
And it's only $60, but you'll pay that every year for a broken football game. And I'm a football fan, so...
Well, you know, and again, I get a lot of people that'll play Madden aren't the kind of people that probably play Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
I think Cyberpunk is a game that they wanted everybody to play like Skyrim. Everybody that played Skyrim, they were not fans of Elder Scrolls, and that pissed off the Elder Scrolls fans. You're always going to have the people that played the game before it was cool, or played that series before it was cool, and they, you know, a lot of Elder Scroll fans didn't like Skyrim because they thought it was too mainstream, and so maybe, you know, they were trying to make this game very mainstream. I mean, it was everywhere.
I don't even necessarily think they were trying to make it a mainstream game. I think, this is looping back to earlier, YouTubers made it a mainstream game. And that's why so many people were disappointed, because they'd always say it's the next GTA, even though it's really not. That's just what YouTubers... It's not.
And, like, I'd like to see people quit making that comparison. It's not GTA. They never said it was GTA. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, the developer said, don't play this like GTA.
Yeah.
They told you not to go around murdering polite NPCs.
Yeah. And why I say that, this brings up one problem that we've talked about, but not in this. So, I accidentally, when I was just playing, accidentally threw a grenade, because, like I said, I juggle games, accidentally threw a grenade and blew people up. And the police came after me. But all it did was all I had to do was talk to an NPC, and the police were off of me. So I think that's something, like, more stuff like that is why they can't...
Yeah, well, see, what the problem with that is, you know, I think people were really wanting a flushed out wanted system because there's supposed to be one in the game, and it's not flushed out. The cops spawn behind you. As long as you talk to an NPC or run away far enough, they forget about you. That's a problem in the game. I mean, we can't, like, say that not a problem, but you know what, though? Not every gamer is going to find out about that problem. To be honest with you, there are people that's going to play this game and go story, 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 side mission, side mission, side mission, and do all that stuff. They're not, you know, they're not the maniacs that go around just murdering people because it's fun. I know there's a lot of gamers that like to, well, what happens if I kill this person? Yeah. What does the grenade look like going over there?
Yeah.
I mean, we have those gamers. But, you know, that's not a problem everybody's going to find in the game. And so, yes, it's a problem. Yes, they need to fix it. But, like, there's going to be people that don't even know that's a problem.
Yeah.
Like,
I would have known if I hadn't accidentally hit a
I
button.
wouldn't have known if I hadn't seen it all over YouTube because I didn't go around murdering a bunch of people. I was playing, I wasn't a psychopath in my playstyle. I kind of tried to get in the world. And let's talk about the crashes. I get about 5 hours of gameplay on a PlayStation 4 before I have a crash.
Yeah.
And it sucks when it happens because it always takes you out of what you're doing. And sometimes it's like, that's my sign. Hey, I'm done gaming for right now. That's enough gaming. I need to do something else. But I know you had a lot more crashes.
Yeah. I had them like every 30 minutes to 2 hours. So somewhere in that time frame is always when it just crashed. And that's why I like kind of just stopped playing waiting on PS5, like my upgrade, because I knew it was coming. I knew I was going to get it. And I was just like, all right, I think it'll run better. And it really has. Like, if you really wanted to play this game like it's supposed to be, but you're impatient for the updates, but you're about to upgrade, I would wait till you upgrade and then play it, because then it's really a good straight play for the most part.
And we're about to wrap this up, guys, but one last thing is, they're saying that when the PlayStation 5 version of this game comes out, it looks better than what the PCs look like now. Don't know if that's true. That's a developer that goes unnamed talking about that today. Who knows if that's true? I don't know if it's true.
Yeah.
But it's out there. There's a lot of other rumors out there. It could be true that the PlayStation 5, when they come out with their version, it's going to look really, really good. And I hope it does. Everybody that buys a copy now gets a free upgraded version to next gen console. That's cool. Most games don't offer that, by the way. I'd just like to point that out. We've destroyed a small company. Their stocks dropped 40%. There's lawsuits. They are not going to be doing good for a while, even though they sold 13 million units. And it's a small company. I mean, we want to talk about this company being, they're not EA. People put up with EA's bullcrap all the time. But these guys made a bad game, and y'all want to absolutely destroy them for it. Is it fair? Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. Why don't you tell us in the comments?
Yeah.
And closing, Andrew, what are your final thoughts on this game?
I mean, it's a fun play. The story's good, but there's just those mechanics and things that just kind of, like, because you want to feel like you're in the world, kind of, but they really just stop you and cut you short from it. So it's just, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think of something to compare it to, and I just don't really have anything. Because, I don't know, just getting, like, cut out of the game every so often, seeing cars fall from the sky, and seeing the NPCs that would, like, you could easily just get behind and kill even though they were shooting at you. There's just certain things and, like, little fine things that I think they'll fix. They're a small company. They made The Witcher 3, and that's one of my favorite games. So, I don't think them being pressured to release a game means we should ruin them.
And I think it's very clear that they were very pressured, whether it was because they were running out of money and they had to get it out, or they were just, the investors were lied to and told the game was almost ready anyways.
Yeah.
Who knows what happened? I don't think we'll know for a while. The truth always comes out later and not now. So we're going to find out one day.
Yeah.
But not right now. And what would you rate this game as? Like a 1 out of 10?
I'm gonna give it 2 ratings, just because I've had 2 very different experiences. I think on the PlayStation 4, and I had Launch Edition, I'd probably give it a 4 out of 10. It's just so buggy, and I mean, I can really see why some people complained. But on the PS5, I think a 7 to 8 out of 10. I mean, it's really fun. I know more stuff's coming. I think they're going to fix what I don't like. And I mean, I think it's fair we give them a chance. So I just want to point out Star Wars Battlefront 2. They stopped support for that game. But right now, it literally has its highest player count ever. And I mean, that game was a dumpster fire when it came out. They turned around and made it have this many players. No Man's Sky came out, sucked. They turned it around. So we're giving all these other games chances. So why don't we give this game at least a chance to fix itself?
I think 2 reasons. One, negative videos always get more views than positive videos.
Yeah.
People love to hate in today's age. And, I mean, there's one believe it or not, there's and they haven't done a whole lot of stuff on it, but Xbox Outsider. It's a YouTube channel. They're great. I'm giving you guys a shout out. Show us love too. Anyways,
Right.
They had a very good video about this game, and they wasn't being overly positive. They were just being real.
Yeah.
And coming at it with the love of a gamer. If you love video games, you're going to love this game. I think it's a 7 out of 10. I've played it. I've beat the game. I'm going on my second playthrough of the game. And so you're noticing more stuff. And I already know that the ending, really doesn't matter about my choices at the beginning of the game. There's only a handful of choices that do matter. But I think back to other games that they promised us our choices mattered, and they didn't.
Yeah.
The biggest one that I've ever played was Odyssey. Remember Assassin's Creed Odyssey, when they talked about the choices and everything about the romances and the choices you make, there's about a handful of times in that game that your choices matter. And you always kind of felt those moments too. So I think we were just too quick to love this game, and I think we were too quick to turn our backs on this game. I'm not going to judge my rating on this game based off the glitches. I think when they get the glitches fixed, it's a 7. I think this game is a 7, will be a 7 by the end of 2021, I should say. I think it's got a fun story. I enjoyed playing it. And that's what I asked myself. Is it the best game I played this year? No. But it's a good game. And it's a 7. And so you would have a little bit of judgment. I put The Witcher at 9. So, this isn't as good as The Witcher, obviously, but it's got its problems.
Yeah.
I think it's a beautiful disaster. It's pretty. The world does feel a little empty, with stores and stuff. I think they'll fix that. But is that all we got on this?
I think it is.
I can't think of anything else
The
to
only
say.
other thing that people might like that when it comes out is going to be the multiplayer, but that might not be for a year.
Yeah, and I'm hoping if we learned anything from Cyberpunk 2077, it's quit hyping stuff up. And if you're a developer, don't show us all your cards. It's okay to just not show us anything for months on end, because you got our hopes up. And some people you're not going to recover that from because they bought this game thinking it was going to be something completely different, and it wasn't. And, I understand your frustrations. So, if that's why you don't like this game, I ain't going to get mad at you about it, honestly.
Yeah.
I think if you love games, you're going to love this game too. If you truly love games.
Yeah. And one thing that's really cool to see, this is just a little thing too, is just looking at the city.
The city is pretty.
I mean, I can't think of a better way to end it because that's one of my favorite things is just riding around looking at the city because it looks great.
I think that's how we'll end it. There you go, guys.
Tell us what you thought about the game in the comments. I mean, I'm very interested to read because some people hate it and some people love it, but don't just tell me which one. Tell me why. What did you experience to make you have your opinion on it?
Yes. Tell us what the top peeves you had about the game. We'll do an update video and talking about maybe fans, what they hated the most about it. But at any rate, please subscribe, and share us.
And hit that bell. That way whenever we post the content, you'll see it on your phone and you can just tap it and watch. Why wouldn't you,
And guys, have a great 2021.
Yeah, let's hope it's better than last year. So, till next time, peace out.